found this little toy today, and I am trying to figure out where it is from. I am thinking SpongeBob SquarePants based on the art style, but I am not exactly sure. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a macaroon Fred figure. Specifically, this is part of the SpongeBob SquarePants Fun with Food 2.5-inch figure set. Fred is the famous background fish known for yelling about his leg in the cartoon. In this specific blind box style toy release, which was manufactured to capitalize on the internet culture surrounding the show, the classic characters are paired with popular desserts. What is happening to this apple? I noticed it got a deep bruise and then suddenly started bleeding. This dark red liquid seems to be seeping directly from inside the apple itself, bubbling up on the skin. Does anyone know what it is? This phenomenon is simply apple juice mixing with natural skin pigments. When an apple sustains a hard impact, the internal plant cells rupture and release their liquid juice. The resulting internal pressure forces this liquid out through tiny, microscopic pores in the apple skin known as lenticels. In red apples, the skin contains natural chemical pigments called anthocyanins. As the clear juice travels outward, it dissolves these pigments, turning the liquid into a dark red, blood-like color. As long as the apple does not smell fermented or show signs of mold, the undamaged flesh is perfectly safe to eat. I just bought a new house and found this mechanical device securely attached to the outside of the garden shed. It looks like it houses some kind of spool or cable inside. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a retractable clothesline. These wall-mounted units contain a long, durable nylon or wire cord wound around a spring-loaded internal drum. When you need to dry laundry, you pull the line across the yard and hook it to an opposing post. The internal tension spring allows the line to automatically spool back inside the weatherproof housing when unhooked, keeping the yard clear of permanent drying lines. I recently purchased a house and discovered these strange metal stakes under the oven. They look like long metal rods with hooked ends. Most of the oven racks are self-explanatory, but we have never seen sticks like this before. Does anybody have any idea what they are for? It's an auto-eject oven rack connecting rod. High-end appliance manufacturers use these metal links to physically attach a wire oven shelf directly to the interior frame of the oven door. When you pull the door open, the mechanical linkage pulls the designated shelf outward simultaneously. This mechanism allows the user to easily check or remove hot dishes without having to reach inside the heated cavity or manually drag out a heavily loaded wire rack. I think this fell into one of our bags at a recent dinner party, and nobody knows what it is or who it belongs to. The handle is covered in a cheap-feeling arts and crafts style foam, and the metal part looks like it could be a lemon squeezer or maybe a hot dog slicer. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a barbecue tool designed specifically for removing the silver skin on ribs. The silver skin is a tough, chewy membrane on the underside of pork and beef ribs that does not break down or dissolve during the cooking process. To operate this tool, you slide the curved metal tip under the membrane, clamp down the top jaw, and pull backward to cleanly strip the tough layer off the bone. Removing this membrane is a critical step in barbecue preparation, as it allows smoke and dry spice rubs to properly penetrate the meat. I found these weird stainless spoons in the apartment I just moved into. There are multiple pieces, and the long handles are completely hollow, like tubes. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a combination spoon and straw. These utensils are designed specifically for consuming thick beverages like milkshakes, floats, or slushies. The design allows the user to scoop solid ice cream from the top and drink the melted liquid from the bottom. While South American cultures have used a similar filtered straw called a bombilla for centuries to drink yerba mate tea, these open-ended stainless steel variants became widely popular in American diners during the mid-20th century. I have had this for years, just sitting in a drawer, and never had any idea where it came from. It is a fairly small, solid metal hoop with little balls on the ends. It is tarnished but not flaking, and oddly enough, it smells exactly like a United States quarter. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a torque bangle. The open-ended design dates back to the Celtic torques worn during the Iron Age around 800 BC. But this is a modern piece of jewelry. Because it smells like a quarter, it is likely made of cupro-nickel or a copper alloy, which reacts with the natural oils in human skin to produce that distinct metallic scent. The small balls on the ends are called finials. Since this type of bracelet lacks a clasp, the finials ensure the metal edges do not dig into your skin or snag on your clothing when you slide it over your wrist. My son found this heavy little object in the dirt right in front of our house. It is metal, about 1 inch in diameter, and coated in bright yellow paint. There are also 2 distinct notches cut into each side. Thoughts on what this could be? It is an end cap for a hydraulic cylinder, specifically from heavy construction machinery like a bulldozer or an excavator, which explains the industrial yellow paint. Hydraulic cylinders use pressurized fluid to create linear motion and heavy lifting force. The end cap seals the cylinder barrel to keep the hydraulic fluid from leaking under immense pressure, sometimes exceeding 3,000 pounds per square inch. The 2 notches on the sides are designed for a specialized spanner wrench, allowing a mechanic to unscrew the cap to replace worn seals. It likely vibrated loose and fell off a passing construction vehicle. I found a Ziploc bag of these gray plastic pieces sitting in the open bed of a truck parked in front of my house. The bag had the name Duplantis written on it in marker, and the items were stamped with the word Bloom. The truck owner had no idea where they came from. Does anyone know what it is? It's a set of specialized cabinet hardware manufactured by the Austrian company Bloom. Founded in 1952 by Julius Bloom, the company is a major supplier of concealed hinges and drawer systems. Specifically, these are part of the Bloom tip-on mechanism for large, handleless cabinet doors. Inside the plastic housing is a spring-loaded bumper that pushes the door open when you press on the outside panel. The handwritten name on the bag was likely a specific customer or cabinetry project designation. I found this small metallic object in a private garden in Baden-Württemberg, Germany. It weighs exactly 142 grams and is about 5 centimeters long. A reverse image search suggested it could be a doorstop, but it is way too small and definitely not heavy enough for that. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a weight for a mechanical balance scale. While 142 grams might seem like an odd random number in the metric system, it perfectly converts to exactly 5 ounces in the imperial system. Before modern digital scales became common, grocers, merchants, and households used heavy metal weights like this one on pan balance scales to measure out exact quantities of food and trade goods. Over time, it was likely lost or discarded in the garden as older mechanical scaling systems were phased out across Europe. I found this odd custom-carved container at a yard sale today. It is hand-carved very nicely out of solid maple. Because of its unusual shape, I actually thought maybe it was meant to store a specific type of magic mushroom. Has anyone seen this shape before? What you found is a darning mushroom, and the hollow stem was originally designed to store sewing needles. Long before cheap, mass-produced clothing was available, mending socks was a regular household chore. To repair a hole, the wooden mushroom cap is slipped inside the sock and positioned directly under the tear. This creates a smooth, firm surface that stretches the fabric tight, allowing a person to weave a needle and thread back and forth across the gap to seamlessly repair the garment. I found this in an alley inside a Ziploc bag. It looks exactly like black licorice ropes, but it has absolutely no smell. Because there is no scent, I highly doubt it is actual candy. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as butyl rubber tape. Often referred to by auto mechanics as windshield rope or dum-dum, it is a highly tacky, non-hardening synthetic rubber sealant. It was widely used in older automotive manufacturing to seal windshields and taillight housings against moisture. The material never fully dries out, allowing it to maintain a flexible, waterproof barrier against the elements. Because it easily picks up dirt and dust, workers often keep it in sealed plastic bags to maintain its sticky surface. What is this metal bar installed into the lower corner of a shower stall? It sits just a little over a foot off the shower floor, anchored directly into the tile on two adjoining walls. Does anyone know what it is? It is a built-in shower footrest. These bars are specifically designed to assist individuals when shaving their legs or washing their feet. By providing an elevated, slip-resistant surface, it reduces the need to balance awkwardly on one wet foot or bend completely down to the shower floor. Most commercial models are made of rust-proof stainless steel or solid brass, and they are anchored tightly into the wall studs so they can safely support the downward pressure of a human leg. What is this small wooden tower sitting on top of a block of flats in Stamford Hill, London? I am very curious to know what this rooftop structure is designed for, especially since it appears to have a large speaker mounted on the side. Does anyone know what it is? This structure is known as a cupola. Architecturally, a cupola is a small, dome-like structure that sits on top of a building roof or ridge. Originating in Renaissance architecture, they were initially designed to provide a lookout or admit natural light. However, on residential block flats, they serve a mechanical purpose by acting as a passive ventilation system. Because hot air rises, the louvered sides of the cupola allow trapped heat and stale air to naturally escape the building attic. The speaker mounted on the exterior is a modern addition, typically used as a local emergency warning siren or public address system. I found this random metal tool lying outside in the street. It looks like it is made of two pieces, a screwdriver on one end and a heavy, slotted metal barrel on the other with two small plug-like bits sticking out. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is not a specialized tool at all, but rather a screwdriver wedged firmly into the broken heating element of a standard hair curling iron. The slotted metal cylinder is the thermal barrel, which contains the internal heating coils. The two plug-like bits sticking out of the end are the electrical contacts that would normally connect to the power cord inside the plastic handle. Someone likely dismantled the appliance for repairs or scrap metal and jammed the screwdriver inside for leverage. I found this large industrial-looking tank in my garage, left behind by the previous owner. It has a hose, a gauge, and a metallic nozzle attached to the top. I have no idea how dangerous it is or how I should safely dispose of it. Does anyone know what it is? It is an acetylene plumber's torch equipped with a single-stage regulator. Plumbers and HVAC technicians use this specific setup for soldering and brazing copper pipes. The tank holds highly flammable acetylene gas, which flows through the regulator to control the pressure, and ignites at the tip of the torch to produce a localized high-temperature flame. If you want to get rid of it, you do not need to throw it away or call hazardous waste. You can easily sell the complete kit on an online marketplace, as the tanks and regulators hold good resale value for local tradespeople. Clearing out my late father's house in the Swedish archipelago, I found an old sword with a faded inscription on the blade. Our family was mostly poor farmers and boat pilots, so I doubt it was purchased. I can only make out the numbers 1874 and 1822. Does anyone know what kind of sword this might be? What you found is a French model 1822 light cavalry sword. Specifically, the inscription indicates it was manufactured by the Imperial Manufacture de Châtellerault in the year 1874. The Model 1822 was a highly successful military weapon, featuring a slightly curved blade known as a Montmorency profile, designed for both cutting and thrusting. Because of its effective design, it was widely exported and copied throughout Europe, which explains how it may have ended up in Sweden. They remained in service for decades before eventually being phased out by modern cavalry tactics. I moved into a 1960s bungalow last year and recently started cleaning out the garage. I found this heavy metal tool sitting on a shelf, and it measures just a few inches longer than a standard battery. Does anyone know what it is? It's a vintage water spigot key, commonly referred to as a waterline wrench or sillcock key. The square opening at the base of the tool is designed to slide perfectly over a matching square valve stem on outdoor plumbing fixtures. Plumbers and homeowners use this tool to manually open and close exterior water lines, often to shut off the flow during winter months to prevent pipes from freezing. Modern homes usually have built-in tap handles, making these detached keys less common today. I have noticed these strange jelly-like globs in my drink. The last few times I have made chocolate milk using a brand new chocolate mix, it has contained these little clear, squishy balls at the bottom. I have tried looking for an explanation, but could not find anything. Does anyone know what they are? What you found is a clump of undissolved powder. When a starch-based powder or cocoa mix is directly added to a hot liquid, the exterior of the powder granules hydrates and gelatinizes instantly. This creates a waterproof gel barrier around the dry powder inside, preventing the rest of the mixture from absorbing the liquid. To prevent this chemical reaction, you should vigorously stir the powder into a small amount of cold liquid to create a smooth paste before introducing it to the heat. I have absolutely no idea what this is or how it ended up in my purse. It is about the length of a standard marker, and the end has a slight opening that looks almost like an attachment for a small vacuum cleaner. My husband does not know what it is either. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a wheelchair brake extension handle. Also called a brake lever extension, this part slips over the standard wheel lock lever on a manual wheelchair. The hollow opening you noticed is designed to slide securely onto the existing metal brake arm. By extending the length of the lever, it increases the mechanical advantage, making it significantly easier for users with limited hand or arm strength to engage and disengage the locking mechanism against the wheelchair tire. I found this distinguished gentleman while cleaning up. It is a small, solid metal figurine of an animal. The imprint on the bottom says 92 putti, followed by the name Hauregi. A reverse image search did not show anything. Does anyone know what kind of figurine this is? This object is known as a miniature pewter figurine. The 92 on the bottom indicates it is made of 92% pewter, which is a malleable tin alloy. The name Hauregi likely points to a specific artist or foundry, as there are several Spanish and Mexican metalwork artisans by that name who specialize in casting these miniatures. Pewter has been used for centuries, but modern decorative pieces like this are typically lead-free and highly collectible. I found this floating inside my organic maple syrup. I opened the bottle a few months ago and just noticed this strange leaf-like structure inside. Was it there in the first place, or did it slowly grow? Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a xerophilic fungal mold colony. While pure maple syrup has a high sugar content that prevents bacterial growth, certain specific fungi can thrive if moisture gets into the container. Because the bottle was left unrefrigerated after opening, ambient mold spores from the air landed in the syrup and grew into this leaf-shaped mat. It acts like a floating raft on the surface of the liquid. While not typically dangerous to humans, you should discard the syrup and always refrigerate new bottles after opening to prevent this. I have been cleaning out a storage unit with things from my grandparents' house. Most of the items date from 1900 up to the 1970s. I found this tiny metal doohickey where Part B inserts into Part A. Does anyone know what it is? It is a vintage necklace clasp, specifically known as a box clasp or a slide insert clasp. Invented to securely fasten delicate jewelry without bulky external hardware, these clasps feature a V-shaped spring mechanism on one side that compresses and locks into the hollow housing of the other. Once inserted, the spring expands and catches on a small internal groove. To release it, you simply pinch the protruding metal tab. They were extremely popular in fine jewelry manufacturing throughout the early to mid-20th century. I found this small plastic wheel in a closet of the apartment I just moved into. It has a framework of what appears to be tiny razor blades set vertically at even angles around the perimeter. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a replacement blade head for a motorized fabric shaver or lint remover. Patented in the mid-20th century, electric fabric shavers are designed to safely shave pills and fuzz off of clothing. When the device is turned on, a motor spins the specific plastic and metal rotary blade at high speeds behind a protective metal foil mesh. As the lint pills protrude through the holes in the mesh, the spinning razor blades shear them off cleanly without damaging the underlying fabric. What are these strange electronic devices that suddenly popped up around my apartment building? They are mounted to the walls in the hallways and seem to have vents on the front panel. Does anyone know what they are? This object is known as a commercial scent diffuser. Property management companies install these in hallways, lobbies, and common areas to circulate pleasant fragrances throughout a building. Inside the plastic housing, a small fan, or atomizer, disperses microscopic scent particles into the air from a replaceable liquid cartridge. The internal computer is programmed to release bursts of fragrance at specific intervals to mask musty odors and create a more inviting environment for residents. I live alone, but this strange cloth pouch arrived mixed into my clean clothes after my weekly wash, dry, and fold laundry service. It is about the size of a 12-ounce bottle, made of very thin cotton fabric, with an open top and a sewn bottom. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a reusable fabric sleeve for a product called private packs. These are specialized, ergonomically shaped gel packs designed to provide warming or cooling relief for the vulva and intimate areas. The cotton sleeve acts as a protective barrier between the skin and the frozen or heated gel pack to prevent burns or frostbite. The company originally manufactured these to help with postpartum recovery, waxing irritation, or general discomfort, though this specific cover model has since been discontinued. It looks like your laundry service accidentally mixed up another customer's item with your batch. What is the technical term for this specific part attached to an electric pole? It has been making a loud buzzing sound and shooting sparks out of the bottom toward the street. Does anyone know what it is? What you are looking at is a fused cutout. This is an essential piece of electrical distribution hardware that operates as a combination of a fuse and a switch. Linemen install them on overhead distribution lines to protect transformers from current surges and overloads. When a fault occurs, the internal fuse element melts, breaking the circuit, and the heavy fuse holder drops open under its own weight to visually indicate a blown fuse. The buzzing and sparks indicate a failing connection or an electrical arc, meaning it is actively malfunctioning and must be replaced by the utility company. I was eating my frozen dinner for lunch and found this strange chunk mixed in. The meal is supposed to only have pasta, spinach, cheese, and mushrooms, but this was a solid block until I squished it. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a piece of a leek. Because leeks grow in tightly packed, concentric, cylindrical layers, cutting them crosswise and freezing them can cause the segments to fuse into dense, cube-like chunks. When the ice crystals binding the cellular structure melt during heating, the fibrous layers of the plant tissue separate, which is why it's squished so easily under pressure. What is this mechanical metal assembly featuring a small lever attached to a threaded rod and a specialized nut? Does anyone know what it is? It's a quick-release skewer lever, typically used to attach a wheel to a bicycle frame. The mechanism was invented in 1927 by Italian cyclist Tullio Campagnolo. It relies on an internal cam system. When you flip the lever to the closed position, the cam rotates, shortening the working length of the skewer and applying high clamping tension against the bike frame. This brilliant mechanical design allows a rider to remove a wheel in seconds without the need for a wrench. I am about to move into this downstairs apartment, and while I was looking around, I noticed this wire hanging down the exterior wall from the upstairs unit. It looks like a long black rope dangling loosely against the siding. Does anyone know what it is and why it would be there? What you found is a poorly installed broadband telecommunications cable. When internet service providers run new coaxial or fiber optic lines to upper-level apartments, technicians drop the cable down the exterior wall to connect it to the main utility box on the ground level. Standard installation procedure requires the technician to secure the cable flush against the siding using plastic clips or masonry anchors every few feet to protect it from wind damage. In this case, the installer clearly skipped that step, leaving the line completely unsecured. I found this blue metal tool outside in the hallway of my mother's apartment. I have tried using reverse image search and asking artificial intelligence to identify it, but nothing has given me a solid answer. It looks like a heavy steel bracket with angled hooks. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a dolly linkage bracket. These are industrial warehouse tools specifically used for retail order fulfillment and inventory movement. The metal hooks drop into slots on the frames of flatbed dollies, allowing workers to easily chain multiple carts together. Once linked, a single employee can pull a long train of loaded dollies across a warehouse floor without them rolling in different directions. The heavy-gauge steel construction ensures the bracket will not bend under the weight of hundreds of pounds of merchandise. What is this heavy yellow object mounted to the side of a large commercial truck? It looks like a solid wedge made of thick plastic or rubber. A fun guess would be that it is used as an extra safety measure under the back of a tire so the truck does not roll down a hill. Does anyone know what it is? Your guess is exactly right. This object is known as a wheel chock. Commercial drivers use these heavily reinforced wedges to secure their vehicles when parked on steep inclines, during cargo loading, or when being transported on ferry ships. Modern heavy-duty chocks are typically manufactured from high-density polyurethane, which can easily withstand over 40,000 pounds of pressure. The wedge shape relies on basic physics. If the truck's parking brake fails, the tire pushes down onto the chock, locking it firmly against the ground to completely stop forward or backward momentum. I found this wooden game board while cleaning out a room, but there is no name written on it anywhere. It has a series of small holes arranged in continuous tracks, but no game pieces. Does anyone recognize this? What you found is a cribbage scoring board. Cribbage is a traditional card game invented by the English poet Sir John Suckling in the early 17th century. Instead of using pen and paper, players track their points by moving small pegs along the rows of holes. A standard board has 120 holes per player, representing the points needed to win a game. The mechanical action of pegging the score is a defining feature of the game, designed originally to prevent disputes over math during fast-paced tavern matches. I found this white plastic object at my parents' house, and it looks like a funnel of some kind. I put some keys next to it for scale, but I cannot figure out its exact purpose. Does anyone know what it is? It's a shiwi, or more broadly, a female urination device. Invented in 1999 by Samantha Fountain, this molded plastic funnel is designed to allow women to urinate while standing up without removing clothing. The elongated spout directs fluid away from the body, making it a popular hygiene tool for camping, hiking, and navigating unsanitary public restrooms. I saw this strange plastic cup while hiking at an Ohio metro park. It was tied to a tree branch by bread ties, featuring a netting over the open end, and there seemed to be a white powder inside the container. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a biocontrol release container used to deploy parasitic wasps. Specifically, forestry departments use these to combat the invasive emerald ash borer beetle, which has been destroying ash trees across North America since 2002. The cup contains a tiny, stingless wasp species that lays its eggs inside the beetle's eggs, effectively neutralizing the pests. The netting keeps predators out while allowing the hatched wasps to escape and protect the local ecosystem. What are these large, circular metal rings mounted onto the railing of my neighbor's back stairway? They look like some kind of homemade electronic setup. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a do-it-yourself magnetic loop antenna. These are commonly built and used by amateur ham radio operators. A magnetic loop consists of a continuous circle of conductive material, like copper tubing, paired with a tuning capacitor. By adjusting the capacitor, the operator resonates the loop to specific radio frequencies, allowing them to transmit and receive signals across the globe. They are highly efficient for low-frequency bands and are perfect for operators with limited backyard space. What is this complicated contraption installed on the side of a house? It sits right between the property's radon mitigation system and the main cable box, featuring various pipes, valves, and a wire wrapped around it. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a main water line assembly, specifically designed for an outdoor irrigation or sprinkler system. The setup includes a vacuum breaker, which is a crucial backflow prevention device that stops contaminated lawn water from being siphoned back into the clean municipal drinking water supply. You can also see heat tape wrapped around the external pipes, This electric tape generates a low amount of continuous warmth to prevent the water inside the exposed copper piping from freezing and bursting during the cold winter months. What are these specific blue circled icons on the dial of a washing machine? I'm trying to figure out what they do, which setting is better for general washing, and which one I should use for whites. Does anyone know what it is? These are standard European laundry care symbols that represent different fabric wash cycles. Reading counterclockwise, starting from the top right, the symbols indicate cotton, synthetic, delicate, and wool. The cotton setting, usually represented by a stylized cotton bowl, provides high agitation and heat, making it the best option for durable whites and heavily soiled general washing. The synthetic cycle uses a milder wash action for artificial fibers, while the delicate and wool settings use extremely gentle agitation and cold water to prevent shrinking and permanent fabric damage. I recently saw a utility truck install this small device on a street light in a residential neighborhood. It looks like some kind of transmitter or receiver, but I am not sure what it is broadcasting or monitoring. Does anyone know what it is? It is a mesh network relay node for residential smart meters. Instead of sending a meter reader to manually check your home's electricity or water usage, modern utility companies use these radio transceivers. Every house's smart meter pings its data to the nearest relay, bouncing the signal from node to node across the neighborhood until it reaches a central collection hub. Installing them high up on streetlights provides a clear line of sight and taps into an existing power source, creating a highly efficient, automated data collection grid. I found this unusual little item tucked away inside an old wardrobe. It is a small metal piece that has the word "valuable" printed on one side and "handsome" on the other side. I have absolutely no clue what its purpose is. Does anyone know what it is? It's a retail clothing clip. These small fasteners are specifically designed to keep a new dress shirt or other folded garments tightly secured for display on store shelves. Before the widespread use of clear plastic clips in the mid-20th century, manufacturers used stamped metal versions exactly like this one to ensure the collar and sleeves remained perfectly positioned during shipping and sale. The words stamped onto the metal were simple marketing slogans intended to appeal to the buyer when they unpackaged the shirt. What are these distinctively shaped sneakers? I saw these shoes recently and immediately noticed the large letter N on the side, but the incredibly thick, wavy sole is not something I recognize from standard running shoes. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a New Balance Warped Runner. Released in August 2023, this specific model represents a major visual departure from the brand's traditional running shoe silhouettes. The design features a sculpted, oversized foam midsole that pushes the boundaries of modern lifestyle footwear. The exaggerated proportions are engineered to create a sense of fluid motion, integrating the company's classic running shock absorption technology into a highly stylized, fashion-forward aesthetic, rather than a pure performance athletic shoe. I got this at a local coffee shop, and while I know it is tasty, I cannot figure out why it is shaped this way. It looks like an elongated, dry cookie with a slightly curved, rough edge. Does anyone know what it is? It's a biscotti, a traditional Italian almond biscuit. The name biscotti translates from Latin roots meaning twice baked, which perfectly explains its unique shape and texture. Bakers first form the dough into a large, flat log and bake it until the center is firm. They then remove it from the oven, slice the log diagonally into these oblong pieces, and bake the individual slices a second time to draw out the remaining moisture. This specific thermal process creates a very dry, crunchy biscuit that is historically designed to be dipped into hot coffee or sweet dessert wine without crumbling. I found this 9mm cartridge lying on the street today. It has a green plastic tip instead of a standard bullet, and I am trying to figure out exactly what kind of pistol fires this. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a 9mm Pack blank cartridge. The acronym Pack stands for Pistole Automatic Null, which translates from German as automatic blank pistol. Rather than firing a lead projectile, the green plastic cap seals in the gunpowder and is engineered to burst open upon ignition, creating a loud bang and a bright muzzle flash. These are strictly designed for non-lethal blank-firing replica guns. They are commonly used for theatrical productions, starting races, or canine training exercises, as the replica firearms themselves feature permanently obstructed barrels that cannot chamber or fire live ammunition. I found these in my backyard, and there are a lot of them, maybe 9 to 13 piles in total. It looks almost like a nest or a colony of some sort of bug pushing the dirt to the surface. Does anyone know what it is? It's a collection of earthworm castings. During wet periods or after heavy rain, the ground becomes heavily saturated, forcing earthworms to migrate toward the surface to avoid drowning. As they move through the soil, they ingest dirt and organic matter, digest it, and excrete the remains at the surface in small, clustered piles. These castings are actually highly beneficial for the lawn, as they aerate the soil and act as a natural, nutrient-rich fertilizer. I need to dismantle my bed frame, but I have never seen this type of hardware before. It sits tightly inside a pre-drilled hole in the wood, and I need to figure out how to remove it without causing damage. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a barrel nut, also frequently called a dowel nut. It is a specialized fastener used primarily in flat-pack furniture construction. The cylindrical metal nut drops into a hole perpendicular to the edge of a wooden panel. A standard bolt is then threaded through the edge of the adjoining piece of wood and screws directly into the threaded hole in the center of the barrel nut. To remove it, you simply unscrew the corresponding bolt from the end of the frame, and the nut will easily slide out. I received these odd tools from a family member, and I think they were originally brought over from China. They have long wooden handles and flat, uniquely shaped metal heads, but I have absolutely no clue what this device is used for. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a specialized scraping tool designed for heavy-duty kitchen cleaning. Specifically, these are used to scrape grease, carbon buildup, and residue off of commercial wok burners and kitchen ventilation hoods. The flat, rigid steel head allows the user to apply high pressure against flat metal surfaces, while the elongated handle provides enough leverage to chisel away stubborn, baked-on grease safely away from the grime. They are a staple in professional kitchens for maintaining sanitation and preventing grease fires. I saw this setup at my hotel in Montreal, and it was my first time seeing it. It is a urinal with 2 large metal handles attached to the wall on either side. What are the handles for? What you found are grab bars designed for accessibility. These are incredibly important for elderly individuals or people with disabilities, such as multiple sclerosis or balance issues. The bars allow users to brace themselves with one or both hands to maintain stability while using the restroom. Since bathrooms can be high-risk areas for falls, these simple metal fixtures provide essential support and safety. What is this small, segmented bug found crawling on the ground? It has a hard outer shell and looks like it can curl up into a tiny ball. Does anyone know what it is? It is a roly-poly, also known as a pill bug or wood louse. Despite looking like an insect, it is actually a terrestrial crustacean, more closely related to crabs and shrimp. They breathe through gills, which is why they are typically found in damp, dark environments, like under rocks or logs. When threatened, they use a defense mechanism called conglobation, rolling their segmented bodies into a tight, armored sphere to protect their soft undersides. I checked out this DVD from a local library, but it has these strange silver lines around the center ring. The lines are metallic and slightly raised off the surface of the disc. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is an RFID tag. RFID stands for radio frequency identification. Libraries use these circular adhesive tags for tracking and security purposes. The raised silver lines are actually a coiled metallic antenna connected to a microscopic microchip. When the disc passes through the security gates at the library entrance, the gates emit a radio wave that powers the chip, allowing it to transmit its unique identification code and trigger an alarm if the item was not properly checked out. I found this prominently placed in the interior breast pocket of a jacket I have owned for over 20 years. It looks like a small, metallic, heavily smushed pouch with wires attached to it. Does anyone know what it is? It is a single-cell lithium polymer battery. These small, lightweight power sources are commonly designed for compact electronics like wireless earbuds. The metallic pouch contains layers of lithium-based chemicals and a polymer electrolyte that generate electricity. Because it is smushed, it is extremely dangerous. Puncturing or compressing the protective pouch can cause the internal layers to short-circuit, potentially leading to a dangerous chemical fire. What are these massive white structures? I saw a freight train carrying at least 30 of them across the country. I thought they might be airplane wings at first, but the shape does not look quite right. Does anyone know what it is? What you found are wind turbine blades. Because these massive structures can measure anywhere from 150 to over 300 feet long, specialized railway cars are required to transport them from manufacturing plants to wind farm sites. They are constructed from layered fiberglass and balsa wood infused with epoxy resin. This composite construction keeps them incredibly lightweight but strong enough to withstand hurricane-force winds. As the wind flows over the aerodynamic curve of the blade, it creates lift, rotating the central hub to generate electricity. I am trying to figure out what this strange glass vessel is. I spotted it sitting on a shelf at a house in New Mexico. It looks somewhat like a watering can or a wine decanter with an unusually long pointed spout. Does anyone know what it is? It is a porron, a traditional glass wine pitcher that originated in Catalonia, Spain. Dating back several centuries, this unique vessel was designed as a communal way to share wine without anyone touching their lips to the glass. To use it, you tip the spout toward your face and pour a thin stream of wine directly into your mouth, extending your arm outwards to increase the distance. The wide base allows the wine to properly aerate, while the narrow top acts like a cork to keep insects out. I came across this dark metal enamel pin that says Dark Souls on the back. When I tried to run an image search, it just came up as a rare pin, but I couldn't figure out what it actually represents from the game's universe. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a replica pin of the Soul of Cinder's helm from the video game Dark Souls 3. The trick here is that you are looking at the pin completely upside down. If you flip the object 180 degrees, the melted, twisted crown design of the final boss helmet becomes immediately recognizable to fans of the series. I noticed this strange yellowish mass stuck to my backyard wall in Southern California. At first, I thought it was animal droppings, but its texture and the way it clings to the vertical surface makes that highly unlikely. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as Fuligo septica, more commonly referred to as dog vomit slime mold. Despite the unappealing name and appearance, it is actually an incredible biological organism. It is a plasmodial slime mold that moves across surfaces, engulfing and digesting bacteria, fungal spores, and decaying plant matter. During its life cycle, it transforms into this hardened, crusty structure to release its spores into the air. I was cleaning out my 90-year-old aunt's kitchen and found this heavy metal hand tool. It has a rotating wheel and handles, but it looks a bit more complicated than standard modern utensils. Does anyone know what it is? It's an old-fashioned swing-away can opener. Before electric models became standard, these heavy-duty mechanical openers were the pinnacle of kitchen technology. The design features a geared cutting wheel that punctures the lid and slices cleanly around the rim as you turn the crank. Models like this were incredibly durable, mostly manufactured in the mid-20th century, and many are still in perfect working condition today. I received this stuffed lion plush for Christmas because it was listed on my favorite esports team's merchandise store. My coworker mentioned that the character actually has an official birthday, meaning it must be from a specific show or media franchise. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as Khan, a popular mascot character from the hit Japanese manga and anime series Bleach, created by Tite Kubo in 2001. In the series lore, Khan is an artificial soul that occupies a modified, slightly damaged stuffed lion. Esports organizations often collaborate with major anime franchises, releasing crossover merchandise like this plush for fans of both the competitive gaming team and the animation. I found this small brass object while I was folding my laundry. It is obviously a button, but it has a very specific and detailed crest stamped into the front. Does it have any historical significance? This object is known as a vintage collectible blazer button from the Royal Blackheath Golf Club in London. Established in 1608, Royal Blackheath is one of the oldest golf clubs in the world. The brass button features the traditional club crest, which prominently displays a royal crown, crossed golf clubs, and Scottish thistles. These specific buttons have adorned the official tailored blazers and uniforms of club members for decades, with the core design dating back to the late 1800s. What are these large, circular structures clustered together on this satellite map? They appear to be massive open-air tanks or pools connected by a network of pipes and pathways. Does anyone know what it is? It's a municipal water treatment plant. The large circular features you see from above are primary and secondary clarifiers. In these massive basins, wastewater is allowed to settle, allowing heavier, solid organic matter to sink to the bottom as sludge, while lighter materials float to the top. Slowly rotating mechanical skimmers sweep the surface and bottom to remove the waste, a critical physical step in the multi-stage engineering process that sanitizes urban water supplies. I found this metallic tool tucked away in one of the cabinets in our kitchen. It has grooved wheels and a crank, but initially it did not seem like something that would be used to prepare food. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a manual pasta roller and cutter attachment. Traditional hand-cranked pasta machines, popularized by Italian manufacturing companies in the 1930s, use a system of parallel stainless steel or aluminum rollers. As you turn the handle, the internal gears rotate the cylindrical blades in opposite directions, grabbing a sheet of pasta dough and slicing it into uniform strips for spaghetti or fettuccine. The metal construction ensures the dough passes through smoothly, without sticking to the mechanical parts. I received my great-grandmother's large wooden chest, made of black stinkwood in South Africa shortly after 1941. On one end of the chest, there is a brush held inside the metal handle. The fibers are a bit sticky, but not hard. Was it originally used for wood varnishing? Does anyone know what it is? What you found is actually an improvised shim. That is an ordinary paintbrush someone jammed into the metal handle hardware. Over time, heavy wooden chests can experience shrinkage or wear, causing the side handles to become loose and rattle. A previous owner likely wedged the brush handle into the gap to stop the metal from shifting, much like putting a folded napkin under a wobbly table leg. The stickiness on the bristles is probably leftover resin, varnish, or just decades of degraded oil paint. I noticed these long ribbon loops sewn into the inside of a shirt. I see them on women's clothing all the time, but I have never seen them on men's garments. Does anyone know what they are? These are known as hanger loops. They are specifically sewn into garments made from softer, delicate materials, or items with wide necklines that might slip off a standard hanger. By hooking these loops over the edges of a clothes hanger, it supports the weight of the garment without stretching or deforming the fabric at the shoulders. Women's clothing often features lighter fabrics like silk or chiffon, as well as wider, asymmetrical cuts, which is why these loops are far more common in women's fashion compared to heavier menswear. Which of these items surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. For more unknown items, check out the other videos on our channel. Hit like and subscribe.